Hi, everyone. So exciting to be here. Thank you, Maria and John. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our session. My name is Aisha Bush. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. And in this session, my colleague John is joining me as well. Hi, John.
Hi, Acha. Hi, everyone. My name is John Miller. I'm a program manager, and I'm working on the Teams Toolkit right now.
Awesome. So we have a full pack agenda to introduce you how to build a Teams bot using .NET and Teams Toolkit. Before we jump into the exciting live coding demo, we want to also walk you through what and why. So we prepared some overview of Microsoft Teams app, and then we want to walk you through the capabilities you can build for Microsoft Teams platform. And we have a live demo to show you how to build a Teams bot using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio and .NET. And finally, we will share some resources for you to have some tutorials to learn self-paced and understand Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio a little bit more. So, John, why Teams apps in general?
Thanks, Aisha. Yeah, so getting started, a couple ways we could answer that question. I think the first way to think about that is, what type of information do you want to bring into Teams? What tools, what processes, and that helps you start to think about like, okay, I'm working in Teams. This is where people are already communicating. This is where we're learning, we're working. So you can start to customize how users and how people in your business communicate and collaborate. And then if you think about it, the next way is how we might answer that is with social interactions. And that's really about connecting with your team, connecting with others. It could even be connecting with customers, so people external to your business. And that'd be a great way for you to provide services and share information in Teams channels or in chats. And then we can also think about how we bring uh, or how we automate like repetitive workflows inside of Teams, or how we might reserve common resources like a conference room or something right from inside of Teams, or what other common business processes you might already have, and you can kind of bring that into the flow of work since you're already inside of Teams. Or you might have an existing business app that you've built, and you can extend that in new ways using Teams and surface that inside of Teams as an app. And that could help you avoid context switching. It could also help you grow the user base of that app inside of Teams, since that might be where a lot of your business is already happening. So looking at it a little bit more, like what are Teams apps? And Teams apps, they extend the capabilities of the Teams platform. And I'll show, in a second, I'll show a little bit more about what those capabilities are. Those apps can be personal or they can be shared. So personal means like I could customize an experience for the user that is using that app, unique to them. So it might be to show information specific to that identity and that person. It might be a dashboard, or maybe I want to send a notification just to that person and have them interact with that inside of Teams. Or it could be something you share. So when I start thinking about that, it's like I'm in a channel, I'm in a team, and that's where I'm talking, that's where I'm communicating. And so I can put an app and customize that experience as well. And there's different ways to do that. Thinking a little more practically, Teams apps are web-based. And I know it can be confusing when you're thinking about or you're hearing about Teams apps and what does app even mean? Well, they're web-based, which means you can build with the tools and technologies you're already familiar with as a web developer, and they're also hosted endpoints. So that means that you get the flexibility of deciding where these apps live. Earlier, I mentioned Teams capabilities, and here we're going to take a look and discuss a little bit about what that means. Capabilities are the way we think about how to extend, and that's the terminology we use for how you extend Teams. So this is how do I interact with Teams from my app and extend it to customize it the way that I want. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. If you want to embed some UI content, tabs is the right extension point for that. If you want to build something conversational, bots are the right way to do that. Or if you want to bring messages and interact with the chat surface, bots also can help you do that. Message extensions are a way for you to extend the chat compose window. So you'll notice if you go down to the Teams, if you're in Teams, and near where you type in a message chat, there's already some little icons below there. You can add your own apps into that experience. If you need to display some dialogue or modal UI inside of Teams, and maybe for a form to collect some user information, task modules help you build out that type of extension.
And if you want to display a richer UI inside of a chat message rather than just plain text, then adaptive cards can help you do that. So these are card-based UI that are expressed with JSON. We'll take a look at that in a little bit in Aicha's demo. And you can make these interactive. When you're ready to interact with user data and really tap into the Power Teams, you can use Microsoft Graph, and that'll help you access more about the user and who's working with your app and get data from files and names and profile pictures and things like that.
So I have a little bit of a developer background, so I'm still asking myself if I'm listening to this as a .NET developer, like, okay, so what exactly is a Teams app though? Like, what does it mean? So I put this here. What is a Teams app? It is these three things. It's a JSON file, and it's two icons that are required to be able to display your app inside of the Teams client. The JSON file describes a little bit about your app. So you can see here, I have a little snippet that I've included of an example. It starts to describe what your company is, like who's the developer of this app. You get an ID for your app, so a way to identify it. And then you start to describe a description of things. And this is information that shows up in the Teams client when users try to add your app or install your app, whether that's within your company or externally. And then if we go a little further down into the manifest, you can start to see there's a little bit more specifics to this schema about how you define the capabilities that your app is extending. So for example, I mentioned tabs. That's a way to have some UI, which is a web, it's a hosted endpoint. It's a website. So here, the syntax for that is static tabs. That's what that is. And it starts to define, okay, it has a scope. It's a personal. So this is a personal, UI experience that's going to show up inside of the Teams client. And that's what this starts to define. You can see here, it shows you like an example of what the endpoint might be. And then we have another example with a bot. So you can see the bot has an ID. The Teams platform uses bot framework for these bots. So there'd be a bot framework, a bot ID for this. And then it defines, again, where that bot is going to surface. I'm showing it a team here. It's available to install as a team or into a team. It's available to install as a personal experience and into a group chat. And of course, you could customize what that means within your app. So when you're ready, there's a couple options of what you want to do with your app next. You can publish it to the Teams store. So if you have a web service or some type of experience that you want to share with everyone else who's on Teams, that's what the Teams store makes available to you. So you can publish it, and then others could find it and install it. Or if it's maybe an internal business process or business app or something like that specific to your organization, then you can install it to just your tenant, which is just your Teams organization. And that could go through your IT admin process. And then if you are just developing or you have just a very maybe specific use case where you want to share it with, just a team or something like that, you could install it that way and just share it with your team. Maybe you have a small group or it's not something you're quite ready to share with your organization. And I put this here to show you a little example. There's already a lot of great apps available in the Teams store. So if you're not familiar, maybe you're like, oh, what? I didn't know Teams had apps. You could go now into your Teams client and at least take a look and see what apps are already available and how others are extending Teams with the platform. There's maybe some apps you've already recognized for other experiences that you use that are also now available inside of Teams, and then they've customized like what that experience is and really leveraged the platform in the ways that I talked about before. So what I was hoping is, Aicha, maybe you could show everyone watching how we can build these types of experiences now that I've talked for long enough. So maybe you want to jump in and show them.
Okay, so let me share my screen and take you over here. Okay, so first things first, before we jump into building a bot, I just want to share with you what you need to get started with developing apps for Microsoft Teams platform in Visual Studio. While you're installing Visual Studio, you will need ASP.NET and web development. And underneath, you have to make sure that you check Microsoft Teams development tools. So all the goodies about developing apps for Microsoft Teams is coming with this individual component. So make sure to use this when you're installing the packages so that you will get Teams app development capabilities in Visual Studio. Okay, so let's go to Visual Studio. As you can see, I already tested with the Teams apps a lot for today. Hopefully it will work fine. Let's create a new project and search for Teams, and we will have Microsoft Teams app. When I click next, you will have to give a name for your project. I'm just going to keep it as is, but you can just give any name you want. I will create this and we will have a couple of options here. As John mentioned earlier, we have different types of apps you can build for Microsoft Teams platform. First off, you can build notification bots. It's actually a great scenario if you want to gather some information. Let's say whenever there's a new item created on DevOps, you can use APIs to get the information. Or if you want something regular, for example, every morning at 9 a.m., you want to gather all of your tasks, then you can use the timer trigger. So there are two options here. You can use HTTP trigger or timer trigger. You can use Azure Functions as a backend, or you can use ASP.NET Core Web API. It's totally up to you. And as I mentioned, HTTP trigger is there for using an API. Graph API is a great combination when it comes to building a Teams bot, so you can get some information from Microsoft 365, like if there's a new message in the chat or if there's a task in the planner, you can get a notification about that. Or time trigger, you can regularly get information from the API. We also have comment bot. It's a simple chat communication with a bot. So you can build a Q&A bot, which is a really great scenario for the comment bot. We actually have Q&A maker cognitive service, which works really great with the comment bot over here. You can get list of great questions and answers. Your bot can answer all of the questions you want your users to you want to provide to your users. And we have a tab. John also mentioned about this. If you want to reuse your existing websites as a part of the Teams platform, or if you want to create a UI with a good-looking dashboard for your team, for example, to showcase all of the tasks across your team, you can use tabs to build a good-looking UI and the app experience. And finally, we have message extension, which can be implemented in the message. If you want to provide a action directly inside the message, then you can use message extension. Today, we will create a notification bot with HTTP trigger. I will just scaffold this, and then we will quickly walk through what is inside the code and then what we need to do to run the notification bot. When we first scaffold the bot, the first thing will come is the get started page, which gives you a really good quick start guidance, what you need to do. I think this is quite easy to follow for .NET developers. We will need to use ngrok tunneling for running the bot. And also we will have to prepare Teams app dependencies by using Teams Toolkit. This will prepare some of the dependencies for us in the background, and I will show you in a second what sort of dependencies we're handling with Teams Toolkit. This actually prevents you to go to Azure portal and creating app registrations and so on. So it handles all of this in the background for you. And then we will run the app by just debugging. Let's quickly jump to the controller, notification controller, and see what's going to happen if we trigger this notification API. If we trigger this, then this will go to notification controller. And over here, we have an adaptive card, and it's under the resources. We will use this adaptive card to showcase a good looking card. You can create your own adaptive card by just going to adaptivecards.io. And here, as you can see, we have text blocks for title, app name, description. We just need to fill this in. So in the notification controller, whenever there's a trigger in the notification, we will just go to processing and read the adaptive card, and then fill in the adaptive card with the information we would like to provide to our user. In this case, it's new event occurred, Conf app notification, and a notification URL, which is a button, so we can click go to adaptivecards.io, and we just send the adaptive card. That's all we do right now. Obviously, you can customize adaptive card, the entire process, and you can provide something more. Let's quickly go back to get started and see what we need to do to run our app. First off, we have ngrok. I'm using ngrok to create a tunneling in the background, and I will just, it's over here, copy paste, and I'm running this in the background. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, we will have to prepare app dependencies. If you right click to your project, you will see there's Teams Toolkit. This option comes whenever you select Teams app tools when you're installing the related package. And in the Teams Toolkit, you have a bunch of options here you can go through. First off, you can open the manifest file John mentioned earlier, which carries all of the information about your Teams app. And you can provision, deploy, all sort of things about Teams apps. To run the app, to debug the app, we will have to prepare Teams app dependencies. When I click to it, it asks me a Microsoft 365 account. We are actually provisioning this bot in the Microsoft 365 account. If you don't have Microsoft 365 account, or if you have it, but maybe if you don't have the right permissions to test your Teams app, I highly recommend you to go ahead and create Microsoft 365 developer program account. It will generate you a free account where you will be the admin. You will have pre-sandbox. You can test everything out, and it will be useful for any other applications you're building in the M365 ecosystem. I already have a demo account I created in the developer program. I'm just going to use this one, and I will click continue, and this will start running my preparation. As you can see here, the app manifest is initiated and then it is created. We also have a bunch of other stuff running over here. The bot service provision starts over here, and Teams Toolkit automatically creates bot AD app. So it provisions bot registration as well. So all these steps are done by Teams Toolkit. And when we are done, you should, if you're interested in seeing these files, you can first off go to templates. App package has your resource, as John mentioned, the PNG files and the manifest file. And then we have Azure provisioning and Teams effects that carries all of our information about bot registration and AAD registration. And you can just check your information out from the templates. I think we are ready to run the app after the Teams app dependencies preparation. We just need to click on the debug, and when the project is ready, it will pop up the browser with Teams logged in, because I already provided my M365 account over here. So my Teams should pop up, and then it will provide me my bot. I will add the bot, and afterwards I will just test out the bot by just triggering the write notification API. Okay, the browser initiated, and hopefully my Teams is loading. Okay, as you can see, I'm already logged in, so I don't need to worry about logging in again. And our bot is ready to test. I'll just click add. And now this should bring me the chat with me and the bot for the discussion. Of course, to get anything in the chat, I will need to trigger the notification API first. So while this is adding, yeah, okay, it's already here. I just need to trigger this in the PowerShell, and I need to get a adaptive card, as I showed you earlier. Okay, let me bring PowerShell and run this script. This will trigger the notification, and then bot will send me an adaptive card. Okay, so it works. As you can see here, as we discussed earlier, I have the title, app name, description, and I have the URL, which directs me to adaptivecards.io. Of course, you can design this experience however you like, and you can also cover more questions, not just one API. You can change the API. You can use weather APIs, DevOps APIs, any API you like to create notification experience. This is the basic of it. And if you're interested, we have loads of resources to share at the end of this presentation. I think that's it about the demo. John, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thanks, Aicha. That's really great. It's easy to see in about 10 minutes, you're able to create a Teams app and bring a notification in, and then you can customize from there, to whatever you need in your business. So let me go ahead and jump back to my my screen here, and I will just follow up with a little more information about Teams Toolkit. So why Teams Toolkit? With Teams Toolkit, we really focused on how to simplify getting started. So earlier I showed that graphic where it shows like how you can extend Teams platform, and I recognize it can be a little bit overwhelming, and there's lots of terminology maybe you're not familiar with. So with Teams Toolkit, you can jump into the templates we provided. So I just showed notification bot, command bot. These are scenarios that we hear from other users that are building Teams apps that are common ways that they get started. And then of course, those are flexible. So while, it might start as a notification, then you could extend that to also be a command scenario or a full conversational experience as well. It's just a good way to get started with, some minimal code. So maybe it's a little less overwhelming. It also helps you save time with all the tedious configuration that would otherwise need to be done. So there's things like having to go in and set up that manifest and define that. Well, when you use our templates, we scaffold all that out for you. And then we have some commands in there that I just showed in the menu of your project menu. And that helps you register that app with the Teams developer portal. And if you want to do things like SSO, there's menu options there to help you add that code and create the Azure AD registrations and link those things together. It helps you configure bot framework and link that to your app. So there's lots of configuration that would otherwise need to be done that you can do in one click and just get right into code and get more familiar with just building your application before you need to go and maybe customize those things further. And then we also optionally provide some smart defaults to help you take that to Azure. And the way we do that is in that templates folder that I just showed. And that's where we put some bicep files. So this is our kind of opinion on how to host these solutions. So we have these templates, these project templates, and then we provide infrastructure as a code as our approach to, how do you bring that to a hosted environment like Azure. So you can use our tooling to do that. And that's where the provision menu comes in and the deploy option as well. And then you could go and customize what those resources are by editing those bicep files if you want, or put it into a CI/CD experience if you already have that going. And of course, use .NET. So if you're a .NET developer, then this is a great way for you to get started. You can use Visual Studio. You can stick with technologies you're probably already familiar with, and you can use C# and you can go ahead and start building for teams. And another way that we help .NET developers, let me advance my slide here, is with the Teams FX.NET SDK. So we didn't get into this in the demo for the bot thing, but we also have a NuGet package available. It's Teams FX, which stands for Teams Framework, which is the open source project available on GitHub. And that includes the Teams Toolkit extensions, which is in Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, and includes the .NET SDK and the TypeScript SDK. So that's where Teams FX comes from. And in that package, we have these types for the bot scenarios like I just showed. So we have some classes like notification bot, command bot that help encapsulate some of these scenarios to make it a little simpler. So maybe you don't have to dive into learning all of bot framework right away. That's a big framework, and maybe you don't need a full conversational experience. You have a scenario like I just want to bring notification in and customize what that looks like with an adaptive card. Then we help you build that easily. It also helps you simplify the identity access. So adding SSO could otherwise be tricky. And so we have some helpers to encapsulate that with Teams user credential and be able to get the token exchange easily through Teams so you can create SSO in your apps and get a little more context about the identity of who's using your app if you want to do that. And we also help the lives of Blazor developers. So the tab template that we have is a Blazor server project, and the Teams FX.NET SDK includes some types that are basically Blazor interop classes to help you interact with the Teams.js library. So the Teams.js library is how you interact with the client. And to make that simpler for Blazor developers, we've already wrapped a lot of that and provided some helpers to make that a little easier for Blazor. And then, like I said, that's available on NuGet already. And if you want to get started, like Aisha mentioned, I think a great way to do that is to get the M365 developer program. So you can sign up for this for free. And that dialog that shows up in Teams Toolkit includes a link there to help you get started if you forget. And then that gives you a way to create a free kind of sandbox tenant where you could deploy these apps with full permissions. You are the admin of it. And then you won't maybe interrupt any other work if you're deploying some test apps and things like that. Gives you kind of a sandbox to play in. So that's a great way to get started. And here's some more resources for you to get started. We have lots of documentation. And like I said, the Teams FX project is available on GitHub, so you can go there, and all of these resources will be there as well. And then that's a great place to submit feedback or issues that you run into. And we have dedicated samples that are specific to our Teams FX project templates. Those are available on GitHub as well. And we also have some tutorials coming out. Like there's a great stock update notification that someone on Aisha's team has helped create. So that'd be a good thing to check out too if you want to see like what else can I build and maybe how to do it, and you could just run that app in your tenant as well. So I think that's all I have for you, Aisha. Is there anything else?
Yeah. I think that's all we have. The only thing is if you ever try Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio and want to share your feedback, your experience with us, we have a feedback form. It's an anonymous form. You can just go ahead and fill out the form. Any sort of feedback is appreciated. It will definitely help us improve the product itself. And I think that's all from our session today. Back to John and Mariah.